DF namespace is a fancy term for a pretty simple concept. What DFS namespace does is let you create a fake shared folder hierarchy. What I mean by that, let's say in our environment, we have a lot of sales reports, but we have offices in different regions. So I have my Northwest sales, that's on a server out here in Seattle. I have this Southwest sales in Phoenix, and I have this East sales share on a server in New York. The problem, I have a user, Bob. Part of Bob's job is to look at sales reports. Well, the way this stands right now, Bob would have to browse the server in Phoenix to see Southwest sales. He would have to go to a completely different path to see the Northwest sales and a completely different path to see the East sales. That's just a lot of work. What I want to do, since all these are related, I would like to have a directory that looks like this. Well, I have a parent folder. Then under that, I have these three shares. So we have the Northwest sales, the Southwest, and East. So it looks like a hierarchy. Bob can connect to one location and see all of these like they're subfolders. But the problem is they're not subfolders. They are in different locations. They reside on different servers. That's where DFS namespace comes in. A DFS namespace, think of it as a shared folder. It's not a shared folder, but we will think of it in that context. When I create a DFS namespace, you name this whatever you want. I'm going to name this sales reports. What that allows me to do, when you create the namespace, it shows up like a shared folder. If people browse the network, they will see it. Now, under that, I can actually add folders. So let's say my East sales. I'm going to say the name of this server is file01. Under this, it'll ask me to add a folder. When I add a folder, I will simply type in the share path, which would be / file01 / East sales. That will connect this to this shared folder. I will then do this. If this is file02, I'll do the same for this. I will do the same for, we'll say, file03 for Northwest. So what happens now, when you browse the namespace, which in every way will look like a shared folder, it's going to have Northwest, Southwest, East as subfolders under that. So it's like an artificial hierarchy. If you are now the end user, you're Bob, you browse this location and you see all three subfolders. If I want to map a network drive, I map it to that location, and it just looks like a well-organized hierarchy when it's not. When you configure this, you have two options. You make this domain-based or standalone. Domain-based just integrates with Active Directory. You could have multiple copies of this in your environment. If you choose standalone, it simply does not integrate with Active Directory. One of the big differences is the path. If I choose domain-based, the path can be my domain name. So if someone wanted to browse this, they could go like to the run box and they could type / my domain name, rtsnetworking.com /sales reports. If they do that, they would connect directly to this share. They don't have to know the name of the machine or anything like that this is actually created on. If you choose standalone, you have to go to a server and install DFS. So let's say I go to file01. That's where I actually install DFS, and that's the server I create the namespace on. Well, if you choose the standalone option, you would have to still browse file01, then sales reports, the name of the namespace itself. One of the advantages of domain-based, since it uses the domain name, you can swap these servers in and out at any time. add more, remove some, replace them, and you don't care what the name of the server is because users just map to your domain name / the name of that namespace. Now, we'll see how that's completely configured in the interface, but the concept is pretty simple, an artificial hierarchy.